Hey, how's it going, everybody? I hope you're having a great day. If you're not aware of it yet, let me just remind you that today is Friday the 13th. Ooh, scary. You know, I hope you're kind of cocooned in your home, that you're not going anywhere, because of course Friday the 13th, that can be pretty scary. So don't get on an airplane and go somewhere. Don't go out to restaurants. Don't get, maybe even take the day off of work. Don't do anything that might be scary. Of course, I'm just teasing. But Friday the 13th is an interesting phenomenon. I noticed over the years in real estate that people don't want to tend to not want to close their purchase transaction on Friday the 13th. And 13 itself, is a number that for some reason in our culture, people are a little bit reticent about. You can see it in hotels. They'll go from the 12th floor to the 14th floor in a high-rise building. They're not going to number the 13th floor as 13. They'll number it as 14. And you see it in other ways as well. And but the interesting thing is that's a number that has some type of a negative connotation here in our culture, but it's simply our culture. In China, for example, the number 4 is a bad omen, and the reason for that is that the Chinese word for 4 kind of sounds like death or something associated with death. So it's not really. It's kind of a scary word in that or a scary number in that respect. And I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think in Italy the number is 17. So depends where you are. But anyway, statistically speaking, there's no more negative things that typically happen on the 13th day of a month than any other day, statistically speaking. But of course, again, I know that economically, Friday the 13th tends to be a day that it negatively impacts business. So flights, as I mentioned, and restaurants and other venues typically do less business on Friday the 13th than any other time. But it's not the case everywhere. There are anomalies, and one of those anomalies is actually Port Dover. For about the last 40 years, it started out small, but it's continued to build steam over the last 40 years or so. Every Friday the 13th, there's this mass entourage of motorcycles that descend on the town of Port Dover. And admittedly, Port Dover is a beautiful town. If you've ever been there, it's good to take the time to get out there. But I don't know if I'd want to go there today. It's just jam-packed, but it might be fun. Anyway, and maybe you're out there right now. If you are, drop me a line. Let me know how it is. I know that on a day like today, they can expect, upwards of 100,000, maybe even more than 100,000 people descending into Port Dover on a day like today. But even in the wintertime, if it's a Friday the 14th or 13th, in February, then there's still an immigration into Port Dover. And maybe not as much, and maybe not everybody's driving motorcycles in the middle of the winter, but it's still kind of a thing. So anyway, Friday the 13th, it's a mixed bag. If you are a little bit worried about it, then I invite you to, make a bowl of popcorn and sit in front of a TV, and maybe you can watch a movie. There is a movie by that very name, Friday the 13th. Anyway, that's all I've got to say for today. I hope you're having a great day, and we'll talk again soon.